Hey, this is Chantel Girardi from Online Business Marketing, and today we're going to be talking about marketing metrics that matter. Love it, it rhymes. This is an amazing guide for business owners and their VAs. So here's the thing, it's not just for the business owners to know, it's for the VAs to know, and it's also not for the marketing VAs just to know, it's also for the business owners to know. So if you're not tracking your metrics, you're literally running blind. And today I'm going to be talking about what metrics you should be checking, where, what, why, and how on Google, social media, email marketing, and YouTube. And we're going to talk about what's the best way to report those metrics as well, and how to spot problems that are going to cost you leads and sales. So really the most important thing about this whole thing is using those metrics to make data-driven decisions, but also to make sure that everything that you're doing is actually resulting in sales at the end, or working or getting better. I once had somebody say to me, it's not working, nothing we're doing is working, blah, blah, blah. And we went in, had a look at at her insights inside Facebook. I think I posted in a story, and it was like 2,172% improvement. And I'm like, that's like 2,000 and something percent improvement in your audience, and it was all like the right demographic and everything. So I said, you can't say it might not be working in sales just yet, but at least you're starting to gain your reach and your visibility. So really, really is important. I was coaching another lady who she's got somebody, an influencer, and she's got somebody managing her personal brand, and then we're working on her business brand together. And the personal brand people were saying that what we were doing was impacting what they were doing, and they were getting their bad results, because I said, look at their results, and they said, look at what we're doing is actually hurting your results. And I went straight in and had a look, and I was like, actually, we've got more, these are all our results and what's been happening, and the little results you've been getting is actually because of what we've been doing. And I was able to actually prove that through the data. So data is actually great. And a win is a win. You might have seen me on social media talking about how, I only lost 100 grams after going to the gym for an entire week and doing 2 sessions a day. And I was like devastated. But a win is a win, right? And it's progress, and it takes time. And sometimes we've just got to be patient and just keep going. So we don't want our marketing to be a guessing game. And so many people don't even look at their insights or their marketing metrics at all, which is kind of weird. Because metrics give you the understanding of what is actually working. That helps you to identify where you're actually wasting time and money. So for example, if you're posting 10 times a day and it's not working, you could start posting 5 times a day, and you could actually get a better result, and you've just improved your time by 100%, right? It also helps you to make smart, informed decisions. It helps to guide you and your VA with clarity. And also to track your ROIs, so your return on investment, and so that you can make tweaks for your growth. So what is the ideal reporting rhythm? For general marketing activity, I get my VAs, because I'm a big fan of the Monday planning session and the Friday review session. So on that Friday session, that is a reporting session. But on every 4th Friday, my virtual assistant goes into my calendar and they write reporting on every 4th one, and on every 4th one we look at everything, okay? And I'll go over what those things are today. And for our live audience and for clients, they'll actually be getting an SOP of that reporting spreadsheet as well. So that is like every 4 weeks we do like a big in-depth one. However, if you are running a campaign, so for example, if you right now have got a lead magnet or a webinar or something, and you're actively going out and you're putting a lot of time, energy, and effort to pointing people in one direction, which is what I call a campaign. So content is about know, like, and trust. Campaign is about driving somebody to make a decision. When you are actively doing a campaign, you should be looking at that campaign's data that week. So for example, we've just started marketing our webinar. So we will be looking at all the insights from the webinar landing page to the email open rates, to the registrations, to the clicks, to everything, to work out how well is it actually working, and are we tracking in making the result that we want to make. So for current campaigns, you do need to obviously be monitoring that on that actual Friday, but generally we do like a massive one, a little audit every 4 weeks as well. So for us, I like a spreadsheet, nothing like a good spreadsheet. So we use a shared Google Sheet to check our weekly and monthly metrics. and it keeps our data or accessible and organized, so both the business owner and the virtual assistant can tap in and just have a look at it. So what to track, why it matters, and what could it actually mean for your bottom line? Well, let's start with Google, your number one search engine. So when we talk about Google, we're talking about your Google My Business listing. So when you go in there, there's a section called performance, and you want to go in there and you want to have a look at your profile views, your website clicks, your calls, your direct requests, and your reviews. And because this is going to reflect how you actually show up in your local searches. So that is in your Google My Business profile, and it's under performance. So for example, if you've got low website clicks, it might mean that you've got to add more SEO to your content in Google, or perhaps you need stronger call to actions. If you don't have any reviews, then you know that you need to go out and ask for more reviews. The second one we're going to look at is your Google Analytics, and it absolutely blows my mind how people have got so many tools in their business. However, they don't have the Google Analytics set up and they're not sure how to use it. So we do have some previous training on this on onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au, freebies, and then search for Google Analytics. However, I'm not sure when those were done. You can just go to YouTube and search Google Analytics in 2025 and have a look at it, because things like this always change. But Google Analytics will help you track your website traffic. It'll help you track your traffic sources, your bounce rates, your pages per session, your time on site, and your conversions. And this is really important because we need to know where your traffic is coming from. I have a lot of people telling me all the time, oh my gosh, we get so much from Instagram. And when we actually go and track it, people are looking on Instagram and no one's actually going to their website from Instagram. It's actually all coming from Facebook. And you know me, I'm not into ego metrics. I'm into what actually works. So it's important for us to know. I'll give you another example of this. We were running what we were doing? Oh, it was a lead magnet. Lead magnet we just launched, put the lead magnet up, and I know that my social media was on point, and my manager and I were doing a fantastic job at getting our content up. And when we went in, we were like, okay, how many lead magnets were downloaded? So we went into forms and we had a look, and we were like, oh my gosh, no forms have been filled out. And in my head, I went, that's ridiculous. There's no way that we could do a week of great marketing on social media and it not actually not have captured one form. I was like, was our audience wrong? Was our content wrong? And I just went, nah, there's no way. So we looked at our Google Analytics, and what we worked out is that people were landing on the page, and when they landed on the page, the button on the page was actually inactive. So we were directing traffic to the landing page, but there was the button that said download the lead magnet was actually broken, and that's why they weren't getting to the submission form. So without actually looking at data, we would never have been able to find that there was actually an error on the website. We had to go backwards and work out, right, where's the kink in the hose? Okay, so where do you find it? Well, when you go into your Google Analytics 4 dashboard, you'll be able to find your insights there. You can have a look and see if you've got high bounce rates, if your site is slow or confusing. So obviously do a speed test. Are you having low conversions? So for example, maybe you're getting a lot of people to the website, but not enough people are actually opting in. That might mean that you've got disconnect between your social media content language and the language on the landing page. And then you might actually be losing your visitors before they actually see your offer. So for example, you might have so much content up here, blah, 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 blah. And when you're looking at the heat map and you're going down, people are looking at stuff and then they're just not even getting to the bottom. So you might then consider to moving some of the bottom content up and then monitoring whether or not that works better. All right, so, and then also spikes. So for example, if suddenly you've got a spike to your website, you can go look at your content in social media and you can go, oh, that's coming from Facebook. We did the AI one yesterday with me flying. I don't know if you saw that. And we've had almost 2,000 views on that post already. So today in my meeting, I'll be asking how much traffic to the website did we actually get. Cool. So number 3 we're looking at is the website, and we're going to look at website metrics. Really important to look at your page load speed, mobile responsiveness. This is really important. Your clicks on your call to actions, and then your heat maps or your scroll depth. So for example, you could be using a tool like Hotjar. And as I said, you want to have a look at how much time people are actually spending on there and where they're actually falling out. I always go onto a mobile and I have a look, and you want to make sure that your images are not all squishy and that they look good, and the formatting's not bad. So it is really important. I always say to my VAs, please, before you give me anything to review, make sure you've checked it on mobile first. So let's talk about Facebook. So what do you track on Facebook? Well, you want to look at your reaches and your impressions. You want to look at your engagement, so your likes, your comments, your shares, and your saves. It is important to look at it, but I want you to be cautious of the fact that it could just be all ego metrics as well. For me, it is all about capturing an email address. Everything that I do is about qualifying and capturing the lead of a qualified person. So just because somebody goes, oh my gosh, Chantel, how cute, you're flying. I'm not really interested in that because that's not going to get me clients. However, if somebody looks at that and they go, oh my gosh, how did you use AI to create that? That's better. That's a lead for us, right? We can go, oh, well, we train our VAs to keep up to date with what's trending in AI, right? Can we help you with your VA, or can we teach you how to do it? Cool. So slow load times, losing visitors before they've seen your offer, poor mobile view, and you could be alienating half your audience. Sometimes, and I've seen this a lot, so it's really my preference not to do this, and yet some people are doing it and they're getting great results. I don't want to write it off completely. But when you do a fantastic job at social media and then they get to the landing page and you've got blah, 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 and then a link to download whatever, you've actually lost them. So sometimes I like to go social media straight to the opt-in form, because I feel like you lose them, because I might be talking about burnout, maybe I'm talking about systems, maybe I'm talking about VAs. I'm talking about one particular thing that somebody was interested in. I could get their email address just from that one thing that caught them. But if they go to the landing page may have everything, overwhelm them, and they may not actually take action. So sometimes when it comes to social media, I prefer to go straight to the link. It's exactly the same with webinars. Rather than going from social media content to a landing page to a Zoom registration link, we often just go straight from social media straight to the Zoom registration link. And we do that in our email marketing as well. I'm going to say this again. I have got people successfully doing it to a landing page. So again, you can test and measure it. 1 week, just do it straight to the Zoom link. 1 week, do it to a landing page. See if it works. Maybe the content on the landing page has to change. Cool. So your website is your salesperson, and that means it's got to be fast, it's got to be mobile friendly, and it's got to be conversion focused. Okay. And when we talk about conversion focused, you've got to understand the length in your buyer's journey. Meaning, for me, no one's ever just going to go to my website, look at something and buy a program with me. They're never going to do that. There's always going to be a call. There's always going to be an email. There's going to be a webinar that's usually in between that, maybe a lead magnet. There's going to be multiple touch points before that actually happens. So it's important to know that, the customer journey, and make sure that your website's on point to do that. Going back to Facebook, we've got post reach and impressions, we've got engagement, so likes, comments, shares, and saves, we've got page views, profile link clicks, and growth in followers. So percentages. So for me, I just look at it, I want to see green, arrows up, green, that's all I'm looking for. Obviously, the higher the number, the happier I am. But a lot of people go, oh, I need to do more reels because, reels and videos gets you so much. Yes, we did almost get 2,000 so far, just with the flying me in yesterday's post. However, if I go in and I have a look, my single post images of me, usually in bed in my pajamas, and they're not sexy, that normally gets up to 4,000. So you will notice whenever I go away, I take a picture of me in my pajamas in bed, working, and I post it, and I talk about the supposed laptop lifestyle and the 4-hour work week and blah, 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 and how it's all BS as far as I'm concerned, and you still got to work smart, not hard. And because I know that always we get heaps and heaps of traction of that. And how do I know that? Because I go in and it says reels, posts, it's not called carousels, it's called multi-images or something on Facebook. It tells you that, and you're not going to know that unless you go in and have a look. The other thing is that when you go in and you have a look at it, it'll say your reach could have been more if you'd included the link in the comments. So we need to be reading this. If we're not reading the recommendations they're giving us, this is the platform. It's like your car going, please put petrol in me, and you just not doing it. You want to go put diesel in. It's actually recommending what you need. So it's important to pay attention to it. So Facebook's really key for brand building and community engagement. You can obviously look at your insights in the Meta Business Suite account, or alternatively, you can just go to your professional dashboard and look at it from there, which is what I normally do. So if you're getting lots of shares, but you're getting low clicks, it means your content's interesting, but your call to action might need improvement. So maybe more connection, maybe more call to action. Okay, you've got to think. People are sharing my content. Maybe it's entertaining, but why aren't they actually inquiring? Well, maybe it's entertaining, but maybe it's not value driven. Maybe it's because I didn't have a call to action, so they didn't know what action to take. So you've got to make those decisions. If you're getting high engagement on personal posts, then maybe you need to do more authentic story-based content in your strategy. So let's talk about Instagram. So Instagram is, it is a photo and a video-based platform, which means photos and videos are of the utmost importance, and short-form content usually does a bit better. So you got to look at your reach and your impressions, your profile visits, and your link clicks, your saves, your shares and comments, your follower growth, and then your story completion rates. So you also want to have a look at how long people are staying on there for. So for example, I might create a 90-second reel and spend 2 hours making a 90-second reel. I never take that long, by the way. But I might take a long time doing a 90-second reel, but people might only be watching 15 to 30 seconds. So if they're watching 15 to 30 seconds, you want to make sure you've got your high value stuff at the beginning. And then you've got to keep having high value stuff, or else they're not going to stay till the end. Or alternatively, you can go, am I going to make people stay till the end because I really need them to go on an emotional journey and go to the end? You might then put words on it. So for example, if you have a look at the raw footage of behind the scenes of how me and my girlfriend, after some wine, we're trying to copy a TikTok video, and we created a reel. The only way I was going to get those people to stay there for 90 seconds is I kept putting words there. I went F-bomb, waiting, and I just put a couple of words on there because people are waiting for the next word to come along. And already we've got quite a lot of our retention rate has increased with that one. So we got to hold them for 90 seconds. So Instagram is all about the visuals, obviously, and it obviously does need to be relevant about your brand message. So your brand connection and your brand message, and identifying with their pain and solving a problem. To have a look at the insights, you can go to your professional dashboard on Instagram and have a look. If you're getting more saves than likes, it means your content has lasting value. And if anybody is saving your content, that's the type of content you want to be creating blogs with, if the demographics are right. So for example, you could go in, I had a travel agency, they came to me, they're here on the Gold Coast, and they hired an ads team to actually manage their travel agency account. And she said to me, Chantal, I'm paying like $2,000 a month. I don't know what's going on, but I'm paying $2,000 a month. They're telling us it's working, but we're not getting anyone. I said, let me have a look. Let me just have a look at your dashboard. Let's have a look at your regions. And for them, it was all India, and it was the Philippines, and it was Nigeria, which means this company who was doing ads or whatever was building their profile in those areas. So if the business owner didn't know to go in and look at demographics, she could go, oh, well, visibility's up, but where people weren't ever going to buy from her. So she didn't know to look at her analytics or dashboard and look at the actual demographics to go, I'm actually reaching my right audience. All right, so obviously looking at days and times, it'll actually recommend and say to you, these are the preferred days and times. So you want to have a look at that as well. All right, so let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you want to look at profile views, content engagement, search appearances, link clicks, connection requests, and your follower growth on your company page. Obviously, LinkedIn's really good for B2B, lead generation, and your personal branding. You can go to analytics section on your profile in LinkedIn or on your company page. So if you've got a drop in profile views, you may not be posting consistently or using the right hashtags, or maybe it might be the wrong days or times, so you've got to trial those. If you're getting high post engagement, well, you could turn that topic into a blog or a lead magnet and repurpose it. All right, email marketing. This one, So important. So important. You know, your website, Google Analytics, and email, so important. I can't say it enough. You want to be tracking your open rates, okay? Your open rates of every single email you send. What is the point of sending an email if it's not going to be opened, if people aren't opening it? Okay? So there's no point in sending emails if your open rates suck. So you've got to do it anyway. But I think over 20% is really good right now anyway. And under sort of 10 to 12% is sort of really bad. So you just want to check your open rates and make sure that they're good. And there is a blog on that as well, a recent blog. You want to look at your click-through rates. So are people actually clicking through? Now, a really important thing, and again, go into the onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au, go to freebies, go to email marketing, where we created a long form content on this recently. But click-through rates, if you've got 1,000 click-through, like go here, but no, go here, but no, wait, go to my blog, no, but then go to my podcast, no, but now go to my YouTube channel, and now go look at my book. If you are doing that to your client, you are losing them. It is better for you to stay there and deepen that connection with them about one particular content and then lead them to the relevant call to action. And then you can monitor that call to action, because that's going to give you a really good indication of who's interested in what. And then, of course, you can retarget them, but go and have a look at that other blog. Then you want to look at unsubscribes and bounce rates. And again, in the olden days, people used to freak out about it. They used to freak out about unsubscribes because it was all about ego metrics, size, counts, have a big email list. It's not about that now. It's about an engaged, relevant email list. I'd rather have a small engaged list than a big list of people who shouldn't be there. So I love it. I use my content to disqualify the right people. You'll often see me going, this is for, and this is not for, and I'll get a whole bunch of unsubscribes, and I love it. I'm like, clean list, I've now got the right people on my list. But so when your content is right, you'll be able to do that. And sometimes with unsubscribes, we spoke about this as well, sometimes they move out of the location. So for example, Clint's got a location-based business, which means like they might move out of the area, which means they are going to unsubscribe. You want to look at your conversion rates, so your downloads, your bookings, your purchases. You also want to look at your lead magnet downloads and your form submissions. Like that's a weekly activity. For us, it's like every single week, we want to make sure that our lead magnets are getting downloaded. So how many downloaded lead magnets did you get? So last week I worked with a company, they're getting 57 downloads of one lead magnet. So it's their primary lead magnet on the front of their page. We just flipped the name of the lead magnet and we've doubled that in 2 weeks. So it's taken 2 weeks, but we've doubled it in 2 weeks by changing the name of the lead magnet, because the lead magnet name sucked big time. But the only way you're going to know that, we didn't even change the lead magnet, we just changed the title. And in fact, their subheading was better than their heading, so we just actually swapped it around. We didn't have to change anything. So having a look at your lead magnet downloads, that definitely 100% should be a weekly activity. It should be, here's all my lead magnets and how many of them are each getting downloaded. But then you look at your social media content and you go, well, we were pushing that particular lead magnet this week. So for us, we push one lead magnet a week. So for 1 week, we might go, right, we're doing the marketing gap quiz. Next week, we might be going, right, we're doing hot leads on repeat. We do one a week, and we focus on that funnel in order to get people in, keeping it relevant the whole way, from who we're trying to attract, what the resource is, through to what we're going to upsell them into. And then you've got to look at, and this is something other people don't do as well, is then look at the email automation performances. So for example, are people opening, are people clicking, and and what are the conversions? So for example, for e-commerce businesses like Donna, you might have, I was working with the abandoned cart sequence, one of the most important sequences. So it's normally a 2 or 3 part sequence. Definitely it should be a 2. But abandoned cart sequence, for one particular lady we're working with in e-commerce, she was, I think, she was getting about a 30% open rate, and she was making about an extra $500 a week just on an abandoned cart sequence. So not doing anything other than having a really good abandoned cart sequence. But the second sequence that went to people who actually didn't open up the first one, so the 70% of the people who didn't open up the first one, they sent a second one up, but no one was opening that one. And all we did was change the subject line, and suddenly it opened, and that one started converting and making $300 sales a week. So just from 2 abandoned cart sequences, and guys, this is easy for e-commerce. It's not easy, but it's a really, really, really fundamental strategy when it comes to e-commerce businesses, and ticket selling. So for Ron and Christine, when we're talking about buying tickets, abandoned cart sequence really, 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 really important, and retargeting sequences. But the only way you can make those data-driven decisions is have a look who's opening and who's clicking. We always go, so say for example somebody's been clicking on my program, so they've been clicking on, we recently did, for my birthday, we did an end of financial year sale where you could buy like a lead magnet and get like a whole content done for you content for a year thingy. And what we did is for the whole month, we tracked the people that were constantly clicking on that link. And what do you think I did? We obviously sent them some nurture sequences, but I also picked up the phone and went, hey, end of the year's almost coming. Do you want to buy that? And we sold 2. Okay, so we sold 2 of those. How did I know to pick up the phone and call those people? How did I know it was going to be okay? Because those people were constantly clicking on those same link. So they must be interested in that. They must have had some sort of objection. There must have been some concern. So all I had to do was phone them and say, hey, how you doing? How's everything? Let me tell you about the special. It's ending soon. So email is one of the highest return on investments. A lot of people will go, let's do Facebook ads. I'm like, do not do paid advertising unless your email marketing is on track and you are monitoring it like a beast. Especially with lead magnets, because lead magnets are all about going out there fishing and hooking in the right people. So you really, 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 really need to make sure that this is something you're not neglecting. If you've got a low open rate, change your subject lines or a different day or time. If you've got a high click rate but low conversions, look at the landing page that you're sending them to, or perhaps if it's a high ticket program, they're going to need more touch points. Like for me, for example, people aren't just going to buy off clicking a link and buy a program. I don't think that's ever happened. Even after people have come to me 5 years later of watching me online, they still book a call and might have 1 or 2 calls before they sign up. So yeah, so you've just got to follow it and think, oh, why is this happening and what can I do about it? If you've got a high unsubscribe rate, like after email 3, so say you've got a nurture sequence and after email 3, you've got an unsubscribe rate, have a look at email 3 and go, okay, like, did I go too hard in the sale in email 3? Did I not nurture them enough in emails 1 and 2? Maybe I didn't qualify the right person. These are all questions that you should be asking yourself. If you're getting low downloads on a lead magnet, consider changing the offer title or where you're promoting it. So often the title or where you're promoting it. And as I've said in many trainings before, sometimes it's because you're asking for the mobile number to be a required field. So often we'll go first name, second name, email, required fields, and we'll have the mobile there, but we'll say non-required. And what we find is people will still put it in if it's non-required, but if you tell them to, they won't. So sometimes they do prefer that. So I've got an example here for you for a lead magnet example. So for example, we've got the VA marketing task list. So I think it's about 5 pages of tasks, marketing tasks that a virtual assistant can do. And if the lead magnet gets 200 clicks to the landing page, but it's only getting 5 downloads, that's a 2.5% conversion rate, which is too low. So this could signal that the headline isn't strong enough, the opt-in form is confusing, maybe there's not enough urgency or FOMO language, or perhaps the copy to get the people there was not compelling enough or not relevant enough to what the actual to what it actually is. So a good target is to aim for 30 to 50% on your landing page to your download. So download of a webinar, so anything free, a download of anything free, you want to be aiming for 30 to 50%. So if you've got a 3 email nurture sequence, another example for you, if someone downloads your lead magnet and email 1, you've got 60% open rate because we send it straight away and we put brackets and we say, here's your resource, which is what I like to do. So you'll get 60% open rate, and then you'll get 45% people clicking because they obviously want to have a look at what you got. Email 2, you might go, right, I'm going to give some value in email 2, and you might have a 52% open rate, but your click-through rate's 18%. And then email 3, you might have a call to action to actually book a call with you. You might have 41% open rate, but you might only have 4% clicking through and maybe 2 people booking. You can see that there's strong interest at the top of the sequence and it drops off later. So maybe you might consider shortening the sequence, rewriting the email's headlines, or moving the call to action earlier on. Like, unless you test and measure this, you're not going to know, right? But unless you're looking at the data, you're not going to be able to make any decisions. You might go, oh my gosh, because I've said a good target is 30 to 50%. You might go, oh my gosh, I've got like 2%. That's great, but you might go change all your headlines, and next week you're now 5%. Then you might change your headlines. Then you might actually change the opt-in form title, and suddenly now that's gone up to like 10%. So we just want to change, and don't change. That's a good point, Chantel. Woo! Don't go change everything, because if you go change everything, you don't know what worked or what didn't work. So you want to change one thing and monitor it, one thing and monitor it, one thing and monitor it. And no, that doesn't mean just go create another lead magnet, because that's what everybody does, because you're going to have exactly the same problem. You're still going to have to test and measure it and see what's working or not working. Cool. So you want to track all your lead magnets and your flows. We use a one sheet. So one sheet for our lead magnets and all our flows, so we can monitor what's going on. And you can then also put all your insights on that as well and see what's working or not working. So you can have a look at your views, your downloads, your conversion percentage, and have a look at the email flow, open rates, click-throughs, and conversions. And whatever that conversion is, for us, our goal is always to get the book a call. The goal for us is always book a call for everything, because I know that people are going to always talk to me before they buy anything. So it's always book a call. Some people like to send people in loops. So they send them to a lead magnet, then they send them to something else, and then something else, then something else, and something else. And I'm like, for goodness sake, that's like the foreplay that never has a happy ending. All right, so let's talk about YouTube. So YouTube, what to track? You want to track views and watch time. Thank you, Ron, for laughing. I think everyone else is asleep on the Monday. So what you want to do in YouTube is track your views and your watch time, your audience retention, your click-through rates from thumbnails and titles, and your subscriber growth. And then your engagement, likes, comments, and shares. And yes, you do get a whole bunch of spammy people commenting all the time. Of course they do. But at the end of the day, YouTube's absolutely phenomenal because it is Google. So you want to make sure it is a slow burn, but it does work. Hello, Drew. Kissy, kissy, kissy. In his wife beater shirt. Cool. So back to YouTube. So in YouTube, so what we found by looking at data is that our subscribers in YouTube are very slow. We found that our like 80% of people who watch my channel all the time don't subscribe. Like 80% don't subscribe, which means we have to tell people to subscribe more. So if you're watching right now on YouTube and you haven't clicked subscribe, make sure that you subscribe and you hit the little bell so you get the notifications. And I'm really bad at asking people to do that because I'm doing the live masterclass. I kind of like pay more attention to my live audience. But really what we need to be doing is asking people to subscribe more. But what we found is that when we did YouTube Shorts and we just repurposed our Reels into YouTube Shorts, our subscriber rate went up extremely, which means our video rates went up. And how do we know that? Well, because my virtual assistant did 1 reel a week and we went up to 3 reels a week in Shorts. And all of a sudden, that tripled our results. Had we not looked at the data, we would not have known. The virtual assistant could have gone, our social media manager could have gone, oh no, I'm just doing 1 a week. It just doesn't work. We'll just kind of, because Shorts didn't look like it was getting so much. However, it's had a massive impact on the rest of our channel. And the only way we know that is because of data. So a low watch time might mean that your intro is too long or unclear. YouTube's phenomenal. There is also training, I'm sure, on the website, on YouTube. But your thumbnails and your description are probably the most important thing. And the descriptions do have to be SEOable because YouTube is Google. So you'll notice recently we've had a massive refresh in our thumbnails, and that has made a drastic improvement in our marketing. So yeah, we wouldn't have known that unless we actually monitored what was going on. If you've got a high click-through rate but low retention, Your title and thumbnail are affected, but your content's not meeting expectation. So you want to make sure that your content is meeting expectation. If you're still watching now, write in the comments, it is meeting your expectations. All right, so let's have a look. Preferred tools for reporting. So how do we report? So I love a good spreadsheet, right? So we use Google Sheets, and we create a monthly dashboard. You can have color codes as well to share what's green or what's red. So green is good, red needs improvement, and we can track our goals. A lot of virtual assistants now seem to be doing reporting in Canva. And for me, I feel like, and I don't know, I'll ask the virtual assistants who are here on live after we finish recording. I'm going to ask them whether or not this might be true, but I feel like Canva takes forever to do reporting in and to create reporting sheets. And whilst it looks absolutely pretty, I'm going to look at it in 2 seconds and make like data-driven decisions. Really what I need is just a spreadsheet, and I need green and red. That's all I need. So that's me. So Canva can take a bit of a while. There are other people that are doing Loom videos as well. So they might do like a Loom training together with their team and have a look at the analytics. All right, cool. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you haven't already, make sure that you go on and subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn on your bell for notifications. For those of you who are watching and haven't already, go on to onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au and you'll get our Friday email, which is called, I think it's called Meaningful Marketing Wrap Up or Recap, something like that. You'll get that every Friday, and that will have our podcast, it will have our blog, it'll have any events that we're running. So make sure that you subscribe on the website. If you would like to be part of the live audience, you do need to be a paying member. This is Chantel Girardi from Online Business Marketing.